Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a guide for the Daily Race C. We're going to do things a little bit different for this guide. We're going to start doing these guides a little bit more in depth and giving you more knowledge to improve your overall pace, not just in the time trial but also in your race pace. And I think that is really important because your time trial lap is going to be slightly different to your race pace because one, you've run in the heavy fuel. A lot of people are still unaware of this within the game. When you are running with the heavy fuel, your car is considerably slower. That is why your lap times are slower. And obviously with the tyre wear on, it's just slightly different in terms of physics. Now for this race, obviously for the time trial, I jumped on and just did a very quick lap. It's not the ultimate lap. I did it after last night's stream. Just jumped on into the Porsche. I think we did about 5-6 laps, something like that. Managed to get down to a 40.1, which was a pretty solid lap. There was a few mistakes on it, but pretty happy with that. So what we're doing for the first part of the guide is we're doing our usual time trial guide. This is the guide that's going to increase your ability to qualify as high up as you physically can on that grid and maximize your starting position. Then we're going to take a look at a lap done in a race I did last night just to try and half fix my safety rating. So yeah, I took the best lap that I did in that race, and we're going to go through a quick track guide for that in this video. Also pointing out the differences and where your braking differences are whilst driving the Toyota, because obviously it's two different cars. So I think it's very important to do this guide in two different phases, and then at the end of the video we're going to compare the lap side by side with your race to your qualifying time trial lap, just to show you why it is so important to take note of that fuel and bear that in mind when you're in the race. So let's start this video with that time trial lap, with our TT guide, starting your lap, trying to get a nice solid exit from that final corner. Now for this guide, we were running our brake bias on +1. I felt like that was a solid brake bias with the Porsche. There was no real issues with the hybrid regeneration for one lap. You don't really want to do more than one lap. Now your first braking zone, you're going to be using that little bit of tarmac on the left as a reference when to brake. Braking just at the end of it, you can see there our braking inputs just going in towards the end of that tarmac, and that's quite a bit short of the 100 board you can see there, which we kind of use as a reference as well. But if that's not available, it's always good to use that tarmac. Now you're going to be aiming for that 50 board on the left hand side, clipping your left hand tyre pretty much dead level with that 50 board and aiming to get your right hand tyre now into the apex. You can see the curb appearing. That's when you're going to be aiming to hit it in and start turning in. You can see you don't want to get too much on the curb, just clipping the right hand side of the curb gently with that right hand tyre, and then be very cautious on the throttle with this Porsche. You'll see how I'm progressive with that throttle. It's so important with the Porsche to be progressive. You can't just lay that throttle flat down. Then a little dab of braking input in here just to kind of rotate the car, help with the rotation coming through down into second gear. And then early up on the throttle again, you can see that progressive throttle, not straight on the accelerator. Early up shift to third, then fourth gear. This car has 7 gears, so bear that in mind with your time trial lap. Now braking quite early, you can see before the end of the green Astro on the right hand side, and getting it in very early for this corner. I really can't stress this. This is so important with this car, and obviously this with Group 1 at this track is to get it nice and early in and use this curb to help rotate your car through the corner. So what you're going to see is I'm going to get my left hand tyre over that curb, and you'll see the rotation effect there. And now we're going to be progressive on that throttle. Again, not straight into that 100% throttle, nice and progressive, and we're going to try and get it over the right hand side for the curb. You see here now, off that throttle, onto the curb, on the throttle again, and again you see the progressive. We're not just going straight 100% throttle, because this Porsche will understeer so much if you do that with the way that the all-wheel drive system works. Now we're going to be braking nice and early. You see just at the end of that bit of tarmac where the sprint circuit goes off, our braking inputs are going in there, and we're going to try and get it in nice and tight to the apex here. Down into third gear you will go down as you approach the apex. So you see fourth gear, and then we're going to go down to third gear, trying to bite it in and back on the throttle in fourth gear. And then we're going to brake nice and early. Again, you see that little line, you want to brake before that red line where the start of the curb is. And you see the braking inputs going in there now. And we're going to try and slow the car down while rotating the car. It's so important. Down to second gear. And again, it's really important to get on that throttle as early as you can. But again, you see how we're progressive up to 50%. We don't just go 100% straight away. It's very progressive with the throttle. Accelerating now down into the next braking zone, this very tight hairpin. Using the little bit of tarmac on the left as a guide to where we're going to brake. That is what I always use for this track, pretty much on every game. Braking just past that, you see with this qualifying fuel, slightly past it. down through the gears again, and again we're going to be taking a very early apex for this corner. I like to go in nice and early, then rotate the car, and then get on the throttle as early as I can. So you see, nice and early into the apex, our right hand tyre is almost going to be touching the curb at this point, and now we're going to start the rotation effect, rotating the car, patient on that throttle. You see, we're not going to go in maximum throttle straight away, we're going to be patient on it, and once you feel the grips there, flat down, accelerating out to the corner, and now into this very aggressive corner. The Porsche completely flat out in time trial through here, no need to lift, didn't quite get the line perfect. You can see I ran a little bit wide, and you can see the ghost catch me up, lost maybe a tenth there because didn't quite get the line perfect. Now into the next braking zone, we see we're going to brake just short of that 100 board, nice and early, trying to downshift it now through to fourth gear. You can see we're going to hold fourth gear, then third gear, and then try and get your left hand tyre to clip on the green bit of Astro on the left here. It will help rotate the car, and that'll enable you to get on the throttle nice and early. Didn't quite nail that, could have been a bit better. You see the ghost catches up there, early upshift into fourth gear, and now this is where it's so important to get on the pedal nice and early. So we're going to put a little bit of braking input in, down to third gear, and then early upshift to fourth gear. This Porsche with its 7 gears can really benefit from a good early upshift because the hybrid kicks in. And look at the gains over the ghost behind where we didn't quite get the exit sorted with that, with the early upshift, and that shows you how important it can be with the Porsche with them 7 gears. Now into the next braking zone, we're braking just short of that 100 board on the right hand side, and we're going to make sure we brake a little bit early. I like to brake early for this corner because then it gives you the ability to line it up for that attacking aggressive approach. Staying in third gear with the Porsche, and now we're going to try and bounce over these curbs and make it as much of a straight line through the chicane as possible. You see, attacking it, aiming for the middle, using that bollard as basically hitting it in the middle of your car, and then accelerate out the corner into the final corner, brake nice and early. You see the braking inputs going in there, using the curb on the left hand side of the track, and then you're going to line your left hand tyre up with that little bit of tar. You see how the tyre treads there? I kind of use that as a reference where we're going to try and run over it and get into the apex nice and early here. Just being patient on that throttle. Again, you don't want to go flat down because this car will just understeer if you do it too much. And on the throttle, over the line, a 1:40.1 I think it is, not a bad lap. There is definitely potential to get that to a 39.7 or 8, something like that. I should be able to get 39.7 if we really push it. But now let's take a look at a lap done in the race. This was from last night after we did the stream. I went onto my main account to fix the SR ranking on this account, and we were comfortably in the lead. You see, doing 41.6s, 8s, a couple of 42.0s, nothing too bad. But look how much earlier we are braking. We're on the brakes already for turn 1, way before what we was in time trial. And one thing you will notice with the Toyota is you have to be more progressive with your downshifting. Obviously, you're going to be following similar lines, but you need to be more progressive with that downshifting, and also a little tad earlier with this fuel on board. Again, on the brakes a little bit earlier, not a massive difference because it's not the biggest straight of acceleration zone there, but yeah, holding second gear, and again, still patient on that throttle. But one thing you will notice you can be with the Toyota is a little bit more aggressive coming out of the corners with the throttle than the Porsche. Now into next braking zone, you can see visually here just how much bigger that gap is now before the end of the green Astro. So we're braking that a little bit earlier, holding the gear shift. You see how we're being very patient. This car only has 6 gears. So again, you have to be very, you've got to use different gears through the acceleration zones. And again, more aggressive on the accelerator there, but then patient, back on the throttle, accelerating out the corner, and you can just see the difference with the gearing. Now we're going to see another big difference with the braking zone. Into this braking zone, you see we were braking on that red line with the time trial. Now we're already on the brakes. This is the difference with fuel and using a different car with slightly different hybrid system. Now through this left-hand corner, we're going to try and take that speed through again, a little bit earlier on the brake because we don't want to run wide. This car is very temperamental if you brake too late. You really need to be smooth, progressive, and also very early on the brakes. It really does reward you. Also downshifting. Don't be overly aggressive with this car in race trim. You want to be very steady on that downshift. It will really keep the car nice and stable. Now into the next braking zone. Not massive difference to the time trial. Slightly a little bit earlier. Not really a big notice there. But we did brake quite late here actually. Down into second gear and trying to hold that line again. And again, you're going to see how we can be a bit more aggressive with the throttle. Look at that, straight onto that 100% throttle, because this car will not understeer as much. What you will notice as well, we had the brake bias also on +1. I found that a good brake bias to have. It doesn't really matter too much about the hybrid with this car because it's got such good hybrid quality. A little lift before we go through here this time in the race. It does require that. Just a little safety lift to give you the nice front end through there. You don't really want to go through there flat out or you will understeer. Now into the next braking zone. Again, just look how much earlier we're on the brakes, well earlier than we was in time trial. Now into this left-hand corner, very similar approach, left-hand tyre, onto the green Astro, onto the throttle nice and early, very aggressive with that throttle again, you can see, compared to the time trial. Into this right-hand corner again, onto that brake to get the rotation through to the car, and then we're going to be going into third gear, not fourth gear, because obviously this car only has 6 gears, so a bit of a difference with the Toyota. You see how we early upshift into third, and then you take the speed out of the corner using the hybrid system and working our way into the chicane again. Now for the race, you want to be braking again early. You do not want to be braking too close to that 100 ball, because it's just going to unsettle this Toyota. So braking nice and early, and again progressive on them downshifts. Don't just go speeding through the gears, be progressive with them gears. Into second gear, bounce over the first part of the curb, over the second pass again, straight, use that bollard, hit it dead on in the middle of the car, and you should be fine for not getting a penalty. Now into the final corner, we kind of messes up. We braked a fraction too late for the Toyota. Again, this car is very temperamental on this final corner. It can be so hard to get it into the apex if you brake a fraction late. You can see how much we've missed it there. We've probably lost a good tenth at least just on that one corner. I'd say maybe a tenth and a half. But accelerating out of it reasonably well and over the line for a 1 minute 41.5, which in the race conditions isn't a bad lap. I think we could definitely get that down to a 1 minute 41.3 or something like that if we really got that lap together. So now we're going to do something a little bit different again. We're going to show you a comparison between the 2 laps. So starting at the exact same point on the main start straight, you can see the audio on the time trial at the moment. The right hand side is the race side as looking at it on screen. Going into turn 1, you can see the difference between the 2 cars and the way they handle with the understeer versus the aggressive approach on the throttle, and also the difference that the fuel will make, and a little bit of tyre wear also on the way that the car handles. But going through here, you can see this difference in gears. This is really what I wanted to show as well, the difference in gear selection between the Porsche versus the Toyota, because obviously the Porsche has them 7 gears, and look at the gap it's made up already through time trial with that lighter car, no tyre wear, and as we go under the bridge, we've already built quite a considerable gap up over the race pace with the Toyota. Now let's progress again. We've now got the race audio on for yourselves to listen to the Toyota through here. Going through here, you can see again how the Porsche is a little bit it doesn't want to turn in as well as the Toyota, but then obviously you can get on the throttle much earlier with that Toyota as well, but then it seems like the Porsche is a little bit better through the faster paced corners. Let's have a little look now as we go up here, and that will obviously be partly due to the fuel, and again you can see that difference as we're going under the bridge through sector 2. The gap is really building up as we work our way through this really fast corner. You see how in the Porsche you can take that flat out and safe. We actually messed that up a little bit and lost a bit of speed through there, but still much more ability with the Porsche to take the faster corner flat out with the lighter fuel as we go through here. Again, you can see how we're building that gap up constantly. You can see again how the Porsche is more, you have to be very gentle on that throttle, because even in time trial with the lower fuel as we go through the first sector split, and you can see the difference with the green curb, how much of a gap it's building up. But yeah, you have to be that bit more progressive with that Porsche on the throttle, whereas the Toyota, you can see even in race fuel, we're much more onto that 100% throttle a lot quicker as we go through the chicane, doing it quite nicely with the Porsche, and you can see that gap building up and up and up, and you can really see the difference in the agility of the car with that lighter fuel load as we now work our way over the finishing line and complete the lap on the time trial. And you can see that gap is quite considerable, and that is the difference between race fuel and time trial fuel with no tyre wear on, obviously. So yeah, it shows you that you have to have a slightly different approach to your racing to time trial to really maximize your potential in the race. I hope this video has helped you out. Please let me know in the comment section if you've liked this approach to doing this video. It's something we're going to be doing more on the channel, comparing laps to race to feel, you know, in terms of the braking zones. I think it can help you out in terms of your consistency in race, because I think doing a time trial lap is brilliant. It's going to help you qualify higher, but I think showing you the difference in race should also really improve your racing. Let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this, if you like this approach. It's something we're going to be doing more of, and I'm going to be getting them out a little bit earlier next time for next week's guides. Obviously this week I was a bit behind and we were having a bit of a gap from GT, but now the motivation's back there. Hope you enjoy this video. Let me know. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.